योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्।
Good morning. Good to see you back in today's episode of Dhanurasana. Dhanurasana is a pose in the back bended or back extended position. This, as the name suggests, is a bow or a strung bow position where the body acts as the hard parts or the body of the bow, the rider and the limbs, and the hand stretches back like the string of a bow. Our Guru is Shri B.K.S.Iyengar. The entire body of knowledge that we have, that we practice today, was practiced and propagated by him. One must study directly with a Guru. It starts by studying with a teacher and then gradually finding your path to a Guru who can truly guide you in your practice. Hence, we must make sure that we indeed go to a class and reinforce these associations with teachers. While DVDs, videos, etc. act as great bodies of knowledge, it can never replace a Guru. We'll proceed with today's episode and see how to do Dhanurasana. We will now see how to do Dhanurasana. We use a blanket to support the length of the abdomen as well as the middle thigh. This is because when you go into Dhanurasana, sometimes the pubic bone may prick you, it may feel a little uncomfortable, and therefore we use the support of a blanket. We will show you exactly how it's done. So, we start lying in a prone position, where upon lying down, the practitioner adjusts the blanket such that it fits the entire length of the abdomen and goes all the way until the middle thigh. That way, the area of the pelvis, especially the pubic bone, and the abdomen are fully supported. The chest, especially from the below breast region, is in front of the blanket so that will be released nicely into an open curvature, arch, concave back position, the way Dhanurasana requires. So we start in this prone position where the practitioner rests the arm by the side of the shoulder, forehead rested on the ground. The legs are kept a little apart, hip width apart, not too apart, where the toes or the metatarsals, the front of the foot is placed down towards the ground. Lying down in this position, you first allow the shoulders to relax. You allow the length of the body to relax in such a way that there is an attachment to the floor when we start. After this, we'll adjust the parts of the body section by section. First dealing with the lower half, lower trunk, and then moving to the torso. Now, in this adjustment, we have also seen a similar adjustment in Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, which is in the previous episode. Any prone position requires this adjustment. It's critical that the abdomen stays rested, but stays rested in length so that the spine is not hanging, so that the spine gets the necessary length while going into the asana. For this, we will start with the adjustments. The practitioner raises one leg off the ground just a few inches. Raising one leg off the ground, the quadricep needs to be pulled away from the groin into the toe. So this quadricep usually rests on the ground, so it remains inactive. In order to prepare it into an active state, this quadricep must be pulled towards the toe, so the toe should be strung to the quadricep. While that is done, the thigh should roll from the back inside out, the way the buttock moves away from the sacrum. So the thigh should roll inside out, buttock moving away from the sacrum. So rolling the thigh and stringing the quadricep into the toe, you must then sharply push the groin to the floor, tailbone to the floor. The tailbone has a tendency to pop out. You should push the tailbone, pull the quadricep into the toe, roll the thigh out and then rest the thigh down. So when from the top you see the buttock, this will be a released buttock spread out, and this will be a tighter, as in a more congested area. This paraspinal release must happen. Similarly, we go to the other leg, where the leg is once again released, a few inches lifted off the ground. You have to raise the leg enough to be able to pull the quadricep into the toe, rolling the thigh inside out, rolling the buttock away from the sacrum. Once the sacrum has the freedom to move, you push the tailbone and sacrum inside and then place the leg back on the ground. The toes that are placed on the ground, the nails should not fall short. The nails should scrape the ground and lengthen away so that the leg is continuously long and active. Tailbone must be engaged. This is the arrangement of the bottom half. For the top half of the body, the practitioner then pulls the hand such that the palms are placed by the sides of the floating rib. At this point, I'd like to show you, the more the palm is in front, the more the shoulder drops. The more the palm comes behind, the more the shoulder is pulled back. When the shoulder is pulled back, the spine is active. When the shoulder is pulled back, the neck is long. The cervical neck is not compressed. Once again, I'll show you the difference. When the hand is in front, the neck length is just that much. When the palm goes behind, the shoulders are pulled back, due to which the neck length increases that much. It's a big difference. So the palms must be kept by the side of the floating rib. Once again, the floating rib on the side, it doesn't come in front, is the last two ribs at the absolute base. So the base of the palm must be aligned with the floating rib. Keeping it there, you have to pull the shoulder back, making sure the elbow is not falling out. Once again, when the elbow falls out, the shoulder droops. So you have to pull the elbow towards each other in a way that the arm muscles cooperate. Pull the elbows towards each other, roll the shoulder back. Once again, if the elbows knit too close, that means the arm muscles are not resisting. The shoulder should be pulled back and the elbow should be pulled until this elbow remains at the center, not out, not too in, at the center. The palm should be well pressed, as if the shoulder itself is pulling and adding weight to the palm. That keeps the shoulder area active. Here, the practitioner must then lift the chest a little bit off the ground and really hop that floating rib a little forward until this abdomen that's resting on the ground expansively rests. It's not going to be a dull, compressed rest. From this, we will then move to Dhanurasana. This setting is common to all asanas in the prone position, so that the body does not sleep in the prone position. Instead, it is actively preparing for asana. Here, I will show you one leg at a time. Bending the right leg at the knee, the practitioner then brings the leg or the heel towards the buttock, and then the right hand goes on to grip the right ankle. The hand goes over the top of the ankle and holds the frontal ankle. Here, there is an immediate connect between the hand and the foot, but also importantly, the shoulder and the foot. The more the leg is dull, the more the shoulder will droop. The more the frontal ankle pulls back, the more the shoulder lengthens, the upper arm muscle lengthens, the shoulder group of muscles are released, all in such a way that the neck gets length. You can see a big difference when the metatarsal pulls back and the arm is held in a way that the arm is tractioned back. This side of the neck is so much longer, this side of the neck is shorter, showing the amount of traction this leg gets in Dhanurasana. Here the practitioner then, strongly holding the hands around the ankle, raises one knee up. I am showing you one leg at a time. Raises the leg up. As the thigh raises up, you have to pull the frontal ankle back. You have to fight to pull the frontal ankle back and then roll the shoulder back. In that moment, you have to press the tailbone and then you have to really take the ribs in front. Making that arrangement, lengthening the thigh, the leg goes back down, the hand gets released without compromising the traction of the shoulder. The palm gets placed by the sides of the rib. Now the other leg. Bending the left leg towards the buttock, the practitioner will then hold the left palm around the left frontal ankle. Releasing the shoulder far away from the neck and crisply wrapping the hand around the frontal ankle, the metatarsal has to be kept taut, has to be kept active. It's not going to be a dull or dead foot. It has to be an active foot. The frontal ankle has to push back. The thigh has to raise up, and during this moment, the shoulder, it's like an arch, it's like a strung bow. Dhanurasana is a strung bow position. So the shoulder has to roll back, pulling the arm back. The metatarsal has to push back and raise up the frontal ankle. There, the thigh has to roll out, and then the tailbone has to come in, and then far lengthening the leg, the practitioner releases the hand. In both positions, the length of the quadricep, the engagement of the tailbone, and the rolling back of the shoulder are pertinent to note. Going to the full position, you have to bend both the legs towards the buttocks. Then you have to release the hand and properly wrap the frontal ankle with the fingers. The palm has to strongly wrap. This is the starting position. At this point, as if it is not the foot that is falling to the shoulder, rather that the shoulder is being pulled back through the activity of the foot, there must be a good connect, a good interlinking in this entire asana. The tailbone is tempted to come up. You have to keep the tailbone down in a way that the groin touches the ground. There shouldn't be a gap between the groin and the ground. So pushing the tailbone in, push the groin down to the ground. Then start activating the frontal ankles and pull the frontal ankles back. Here, the practitioner has to make sure that the ribs are sharply engaged in dorsal spine, the area where you get the hunch. That should be pushed into the body powerfully. The sternum has to lengthen, and in one breath, you have to lift the leg and chest up. While you lift, the thigh has to go high up. The metatarsal has to go back and pull up. The legs will be wide but not too wide. Then the shoulders has to be pulling back through the metatarsal's power. Metatarsal should go back and up, thigh should go up from there. Pushing the tailbone in, taking the back ribs deep in, raising the chest up. You have to note that there is a temptation to lift the floating rib off the ground. The floating rib is placed down on the ground. Only the other ribs come up. The length of the abdomen from the floating rib to the groin remains on the ground, upon which the body has to build into a powerful arch. Staying in this position for a while, the practitioner then releases the hands and legs, and then comes back to the resting position where the legs are stretched, hands are by the sides of the shoulder, head may be rolled to one side such that one ear touches, and then rolled to the other side such that the other ear touches after a few seconds. This is Dhanurasana. There is one more part in Dhanurasana that we'd like to add. The reason why we took a break, transitioning from the previous section to this section, is first, the classical pose of Dhanurasana must be practiced. It must be practiced for several months to several years until a practitioner is able to get the entire structure of the pose, is able to feel the resistances and flexions of the pose. The muscular skeletal work of the pose must be complete. After that, we move to the second part in Dhanurasana, where we will show you starting from Dhanurasana itself. Pulling the metatarsals back, rolling the shoulders back, pushing the dorsal in, raising the chest up. Remember, there is a temptation or a thought that the more you lift in Dhanurasana, the better the pose is. In Dhanurasana, the area of the abdomen must be rested. So if you were to go to the pose like this, where the abdomen also was lifting, that's not the right pose. From the floating rib to groin, the length of the abdomen must be rested. That alone gives the lumbar the right alignment. But apart from that, the rest of the ribs must lift sharply up, and the hunchback position, that is the dorsal area, must be taken sharply in. From there, in order to tone the entire abdomen, the practitioner may rock back and forth such that the entire area of the abdomen gets blood circulation and a proper toned massage. So this back and forth rocking is the second stage you may move to. From there, once again stabilizing yourself, releasing the arms and legs, you'll go back to the restive state, prone position. In the restive state, as I mentioned, the arms may be kept at shoulder level, head rotating to one side for a few seconds and then the other side for a few seconds or minutes. And also you could keep the forehead on the ground and release the palms by the side, palm facing the ceiling, and you could also be in this position. Both would be the restive states in the prone position. As you saw, there are two parts to Dhanurasana. One is the raising of the thigh and then the raising of the chest. These are the two areas that are actually sharply lifting. If you see the shape of a bow has a curvature where two ends are lifting. The chest and the thigh would constitute the two ends of the dhanur to give it the bow shape. Now, within this structure, as we mentioned, the abdomen remains rested. In fact, pressing the tailbone down, sharply engaging the tailbone towards the pubic bone, pressing the tailbone towards the pubic bone, you then lift the thigh and chest up. For some people, they may find it difficult to establish the curvature of the two side portions, that's the two far ends. The first section will show how a bolster can be used to give support to the chest area in a way that the chest may be engaged and then lifted, but with the support of a bolster. So here a practitioner lies in the prone position in such a way that the bottom ribs are supported by the bolster. So once again, you don't place the top chest, you don't place the center chest, but you place the bottom ribs are against the bolster. So as you can see, when you lie down in this way, you already get the arch required for the top half in Dhanurasana. So as you can see, the chest is not slouching down. You already get the lift of the chest that is required by Dhanurasana. Here then you proceed to bend your back legs, hold your arms, palms around the frontal ankle, and then first pull the frontal ankles back and away in such a way that the shoulder is being pulled back. But between the dynamic activity of the shoulder and metatarsals frontal ankle, you can then really take the back ribs in, push the back ribs onto the support of the bolster, that is back ribs into the frontal ribs, and you know that the frontal lower ribs is supported by the bolster. Then scraping against the bolster, the chest may lift up. Here, having the support of the bolster, you are able to engage the chest restively towards the support of the bolster, then actively raise from there on. Using this, then for the bottom half, you may lift the thigh up and then explosively move into the Dhanurasana pose where both the ends are lifted up, and within that the entire posterior spine is sharply engaged inward and the frontal chest, placing itself on the bolster, raises up far and tall. From there you release back the legs, and this is the way a bolster is used to support the frontal chest in Dhanurasana. We just saw how a bolster could be used to support the chest in Dhanurasana. That one end, the chest, is a lifted end. The other end, as you saw, the thigh also was lifted off the ground. Now we'll see how the bolster could be used to support the thigh. So here you have the practitioner sitting against a rope wall with a bolster in front. We then adjust the positioning of the bolster such that the front of the knee is kept on the frontal end of the bolster, as in the knee is placed on the frontal end of the bolster in such a way that the feet are against the wall. The feet are completely placed on the wall, the feet are kept a little apart, as in hip width apart, and then the frontal knees are kept against the front end of the bolster. By front end of the bolster, I mean the edge of the bolster that is closer to the wall. From there, you hold two even ropes behind you, one rope of one hook for each arm. From there, pushing through the feet, you will have to come into the position of rope 1, which we showed you before. This is a much steeper incline, but much more closer to Dhanurasana, where you are closer to the ground. Pushing off the feet, that is with the entire foot placed against the wall, through the foot you will have to push the tailbone through, bring the hip forward in such a way that the thigh remains up for Dhanurasana, the way is required. The thigh supported by the bolster is lifted up, and beyond the lift of the thigh, the hip tailbone must be brought forward, the chest must be raised up such that the thigh learns to keep itself higher up, and keeping the thigh higher up, you have to bring the hip forward, making sure the hip learns to go at a lower plane, engaged plane, from where the chest sharply lifts up. From here, you once again, in order to release, come back up, release your hands from the rope and step out. This is the way a bolster can be used for the support of the thighs. We saw Dhanurasana in both the classical and prop-assisted variations. Dhanurasana greatly helps with the length of the spine, especially postural correction, because there is a strong engagement of the dorsal spine frontally forward towards the sternum. Conditions of a hunchback or a tight dorsal are immediately mitigated. Similarly, patients with slip disc are greatly benefited from the practice of this asana. Also, since in this pose the abdomen rests on the floor, it over time creates strong abdominal muscles, and the aspect or the portion where we rock on the abdomen also provides a massage-like condition to the entire stretch of the abdomen. This was Dhanurasana. This would be the last asana in the back bend section. In the upcoming portion, we will see restorative poses.